I speak to people wherever I am, subway, bus. But I was taking the 104 bus down Broadway, and an older woman came over to me and she said, "I know you, you're an actress." And I said, "Yes." I thought, how wonderful, she recognizes me from bit parts or commercials. She said, "Yes, you did you had gas. You did an anti-acid, you had gas." I said, no, you're making a mistake. I never did. I would love to do, I never did. Then everybody was listening, and I went to the bus stop, I went downstairs, there were a group of people waiting to come on, and she followed me and she yelled, "No, now I remember, you were constipated. Oy vey, you constipated." And everybody in the bus and on the street stared at me. I felt their eyes on me as I ran down. It wasn't glamorous, but it's grist for my mill. I like it. My name is Joy Seligsohn. Among other things, I'm an actress. I live on the west side, upper west side of New York City, and on the Hudson River. And I'm married to a man who also went to NYU, but we did not meet there. We met in a comic book office. It was 60 years ago, and my friends, some of my friends, are still the people I met when I was a freshman at NYU. That's 60 years of friendship. And I think it's because the ones that have remained in touch were all New Yorkers when they went to NYU. It's different than a big campus college where people come from all but go to NYU. But if you live in New York City, then you're more likely to end up in New York City if you're smart, because I think New York is the best city in the world. And I lived in many cities in the world. East or west, New York is best. Am I talking too much? Oh, I have so many memories of NYU. I don't even know where to begin. Once, since I was interested in acting, I majored in radio and television. Television was in its really fetal stage, maybe, not even infancy. But I remember once I did a performance, and I was talking. It was a children's show, and I was talking to the MC and doing things, and I got $5 for the performance, and of course no residuals. I'd be a millionaire if I had residuals since then. But there were so many things. Once we did a play, and I don't even remember which play it was, and we did it in Fort Totten or some fort, some army place where young men who the World War II was over, but they were still serving around the world, and they came back and they hadn't seen women or American women for a long time, and literally the women in the play, including me, had to push the young guys off the stage with them. Oh God, that sounds awful, because they were American soldiers, but we couldn't go on with the play if they were falling up on the stage. And I remember the personalities. I remember I minored in philosophy, and I had Professor Sidney Hook, who was so wonderful. And we had to do term papers, and my term paper was very, very skinny. And when I handed it in, he picked it up and he said, "I hope the content, I'm expecting the content to be very heavy." It wasn't, but I loved my classes, and I loved my friends, and I still love those friends and see them. When I graduated from NYU, it was in June. I think it was in 1949, but I'm not sure. It might have been 49, 48. I went to summer stock, and it was someone who had seen me in a play at Washington Square, and the summer stock was in Sturbridge, Mass. And most everybody else was from the Yale School of Drama, and I was from Washington Square. And I did different parts than I'm doing now. I did children and comedy, never the pretty little dumb lead or the pretty little smart lead, mostly comedy characters or tragic characters. And then I came home, and my mother was a widow. My father had died when I was a little girl, and we really needed money. And I tried half-heartedly to get a job on the stage, but it takes more than half-hearted effort and a few weeks. And I realized I had to do something else. So I decided to become a writer. Now, people might think that's certainly no promise of steady work, but they were wrong. I didn't make a fortune, but I made enough money as a freelance writer to get along, and I did all kinds of writing. Nothing I'm terribly proud of. Nothing you would have read, except some comic books that you might have read. And in fact, I met my husband. I was trying to sell comics. He was an editor of a comic book place, and he was writing Buck Rogers, the syndicated strip, and also the comic books. And we met, and he bought some comics from me, and we got married. And then the comic book industry declined completely. We were told that we were killing the American children, and I began to write true stories. True confessions, true stories, and then into the little romance novels that are still around. We were living in Westchester, and I got a job since I was a writer as a copywriter for Westchester's largest radio station. And since I was an actress, I did all of their female voices on the commercials. And since I talk a lot, as you can see, they gave me a 1-hour show. I had for 4 years. I had a live 1-hour call-in show, and it was the best time of my life. I just loved it. I never knew what was going to happen, and it usually did happen. And it was really great fun, and in a way, it kept me in acting, so to speak. After I was married, I was in community theater in Fresh Meadows, and I did Mary Warren in The Crucible. That was the little girl who made up stories and lied about the women and said they were witches. She said, I saw Goody Good with the devil, and I saw Rebecca Nurse with the devil. And that was great. Although I hated what she said, I loved saying it. Once I did Outward Bound at NYU, and I was an old Cockney mother, Mrs. Midget, and the young man that was the star of the show and played my son is still my friend now. I was a dancing little old lady in the latest movie of the producers. I do off-Broadway plays. I was the old senile grandmother in the House of Bernarda Alba off-Broadway in the Village. And I do commercials. I did an Olive Garden commercial, and I do drugs for sick old ladies and drugs. And anytime there's a need for an old lady in an adult diaper, I'll be there. That's in case any producer is. Only do it if you absolutely have to do it. If there's something in you that says no matter what happens, I'll take. It's so difficult. It is so. The rejection is just terrible, and it's, even though you know that there's no reason to be personally hurt, because it doesn't mean you're not good. It means that you're not exactly what they're looking for. So you have to have a soul of steel. They always, no matter what kind of a job you do, the director of the audition, the one who films you at the audition, says, oh, that was good. And when you hear when he says, thank you so much, that was really good, you know you didn't get it. You can be sure that the more complimentary the directors are, the more sure you can be that you didn't get it. They don't say a thing, just thanks. You have a good chance of getting a call and getting that. I don't know why. I guess they feel sorry for people that are up there. You met my doggie. I don't know if your blog watchers have met my doggie, but let me just tell you, I must tell you this, that my husband and that dog are so close and so in love with each other that if the dog dies before my husband dies, I'm going to have to put my husband down. If my husband dies before the dog dies, I'll have to put the dog down. And if both of them don't leave me alone, you know what I'm going to have to do.